When people think about buying a home, they think, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to open up the newspaper. I'm going to look through the internet, find a home, go look at it, and put an offer in, and we'll buy it. Well, it's not quite that simple. There's actually a lot of things that go on in the background. So the question is, what is the first thing you do when you decide you're ready to buy a new home? Do you scour the internet neighborhoods for that dream home, like I just mentioned? No, you do not. Do you buy new furniture and appliances for that home? Well, we're going to need to fill up that new home. We better. No, you don't do that. So what is the first thing you do when you decide that you're ready to buy a new home? Well, the first thing you do is you want to get your finances in order, because if you don't do this, you're going to end up possibly hitting it at best a roadblock down the road, or your entire home purchase may fall apart. So these are things you definitely want to do before you ever stop or before you ever start looking for a home. One is to pull your credit reports. Now, you can do this by going to the official website, which is annualcreditreport.com. The great thing about this website is once a year, you can go in and you get your credit report absolutely free. So I highly suggest going to annualcreditreport.com and pulling all three from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And you definitely are going to want to avoid some of those other credit report sites or some of the credit repair sites. A lot of times, even the ones that say, hey, we're going to give you a free credit report. Yeah, they're going to give you the first one free, but you're going to have to put your credit card information in the website, and then they're going to charge you a yearly subscription after that first free one. So at best, you're going to pay for a yearly subscription, and at worst, you may get scammed, because there are a lot of scams that revolve around credit repair services or credit reports. And they also try to make their websites look very similar to the official website, which is annualcreditreport.com. So once you go there, what you're going to want to do is look at each one of these credit reports from the three reporting agencies, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. They're all going to have basically the same information about you, just formatted a little bit differently. And what you want to do is look for anything that is incorrect, or look for anything that may be correct that you just didn't know about. And then if you do find a mistake on your credit report, you want to follow the specific guidelines for that credit reporting agency. If it's TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, whichever, follow their guidelines to get your information corrected on your report. Now, if you find something that you just weren't aware of, let's say you had an unpaid balance on a doctor bill 5 years ago. You thought your insurance company was going to pay it. The insurance company didn't pay it, and now it's sitting on your credit report as an unpaid balance that you just walked away from. Now, it was an innocent mistake made by you, but nevertheless, when a lender pulls that credit report and sees that you have an unpaid balance from 5 years ago and you haven't made any payments on it since, that's going to send up a red flag. So if you do see something like that, you want to go and either pay it or somehow rectify the situation, and make sure that whoever you paid to get rid of the debt contacts these TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian to make sure that they correct that and change that on your report. So once you make sure that all your report looks good, your credit score is, in the upper 600s to low 800s, you're probably going to be eligible for some type of loan. You've got all of your stuff corrected, everything looks good. Then you want to move on and just make sure that your credit and credit cards specifically are being handled properly. There's some simple credit do's and don'ts, and one is pretty obvious. Just don't max out your credit cards. And the reason I say that is not just because, wow, you're going to be really in debt. It's because how much you can borrow for a house is determined by what they call debt to income ratio. So in other words, if you have a credit card that's maxed out, your minimum monthly payment for that card is going to be pretty high. So let's just say out of 3 credit cards that you have almost maxed out, your minimum monthly payments combined are $1,000 and you make $2,000 a month. Again, this is just an example. But the lender would say, okay, just at a minimum in credit card debt, you owe $1,000 a month. You only make $2,000 a month. That only leaves $1,000 left over that you would need to pay for a mortgage, for utilities, for any other kind of bills, gas, groceries, whatever. So that definitely will have a big impact on how much the lender is going to borrow or loan you. So you definitely want to try not to max out your credit cards. But on the flip side of that, you don't want to pay them off and cancel them either. If you cancel your cards and they go and pull up your credit report, it's basically going to look like you have no credit. Everything has been closed. It can virtually erase your credit history, and that will send your credit score tumbling. So again, you don't want to necessarily cancel any of your cards. If you have them, just go ahead and keep them. It makes it look like you at least have a credit history. Now, there are some credit dues. You do want to work to have a balance at least 50% or less per credit card. Ideally, you'd want to keep that balance below 25% of your limit. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, geez, I already have 50% on my card. I better not use my card anymore. No, you want to use your card, whether you're just buying small purchases like gas or some groceries or whatever you run to the convenience store. Use your card, and ideally, you would pay off the entire balance at the end of the month. But definitely use your card to show activity. That will add some points to your credit report. One thing, though, if you are going to pay off your balance to get it down to zero, which is awesome, you do have to be very careful not to spend any money that you're planning to pay for your down payment or closing costs when you buy your new home. It's kind of like, great, you're going to pay off your balances to make your credit report or your credit score look better, but then you've used all your money that you were going to use for down payment and closing costs. So it doesn't matter how great your credit report is, because you're not going to be able to afford to get into a house without any down payment or any money for closing costs. After you get your credit managed and your credit report figured out, now it's time to prepare to meet with a lender or mortgage broker to find out just exactly how much money you can borrow to buy your new house. This will really make this will set the ground, the foundation for what homes you're going to be looking at. You're not going to waste your time looking at homes that are too expensive. Also, you're not going to waste your time looking at cheaper homes. So this is where you really want to have all your ducks in a row. And you hear from a lot of people that have a lot of horror stories about, oh my God, I tried to get a mortgage and it was horrible. I had to get all this documentation. I had to dig through all my records. I had to find stuff. I didn't know where it was. The people that have bad experiences with a lender or a mortgage broker are the people that didn't prepare beforehand by looking through their credit report to see if there was anything that needed to be cleaned up, and they didn't have or manage their credit cards properly. Because what happens is the lender is going to pull your credit report, and they're going to find things in there. For instance, let's say, go back to that example of you had that bill from the doctor from 5 years ago that you just didn't realize you had. Well, now the lender is going to come back to you and say, I'm sorry, we've got a problem here. You've got an outstanding balance from this doctor from 5 years ago. You're going to be blindsided and say, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. And then you're flustered by that. Now you have to go and start doing research, find out, do I really owe this? Who is that doctor? I don't even remember going there. And then you have to find the documentation to prove you paid it or pay it. And it's a real stressful situation because you've already moved forward into the next step in the home buying process. So if you prepare beforehand, the visit to the lender or mortgage broker is going to be very smooth. You're going to be in and out with your approval letter. And all you really have to do is remember the number 2. Very simple. if you remember the number 2, I guarantee you will be in and out of your mortgage broker's office very fast with an approval letter in your hand. And the number 2 is because you're going to need 2 of your most recent W-2 forms. And the reason for that is it basically shows you have some stable form of employment. 2, you're going to bring 2 of your most recent pay stubs. And what that does is it basically shows what you're currently making at this time. You want to have 2 months of bank statements. That way they can see how much you have in the bank, how much you've been depositing, where your money is going. They get a good overview of your financial situation. 2 months of investment or retirement account statements, or anywhere that you may have other funds that are not in your bank or part of your pay. You want to have 2 months of statements as well. This way they kind of know how much you have in liquid assets to be able to pay your down payment or to pay closing costs, and just kind of how stable you are in with your finances. And finally, you want to have 2 years of tax returns, which basically, again, gives them a real broad overview of your financial situation. You go into the lender with these documents: W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, retirement account statements, and tax returns, and you're pretty much done. 2 years, I mean, you only need these documents. And for the most part, if you've cleaned up your credit report and there's no real questionable material in there, that should be almost all you need. Again, you want to talk with a lender or a mortgage broker. I am not a financial expert, and I strongly recommend that you would talk to a professional lender or mortgage broker to get all the exact information. But generally, this is what you have to bring in, and it will be the majority of what you need. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, we talked about that's what you need to get an approval letter. A lot of people, they get a little mixed up on what's the difference between approval and qualified. Because they'll say, hey, I'm pre-qualified for $400,000. Why can't I just go and start looking at houses? Well, there's a big difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. Now, being pre-qualified, that is basically the equivalent of getting those credit card offers that we all get in the mail every single day, it seems like. That offer that you get in the mail for a new credit card doesn't mean that you're approved to get that credit card. What it means is you're just pre-qualified to apply for that card. Basically, the credit card company has pulled your credit report. They see what your credit score is, and they basically say, yeah, with that credit score, you could be eligible for this card, so hey, apply for it. It's the same thing for a mortgage. You'll be pre-approved for a certain amount only after the lender reviews and verifies everything that you supplied. And that was in those documents, the 2, 2, 2, and 2 documents that we just talked about. You supply those to your lender for review and verification, and then you will get the pre-approval, because then they know exactly where you stand financially and what you have. It's not just based on you told us what your credit score was, you told us how much you make, how many bills you have, we'll probably give you this much money. That's the equivalent of pre-qualified. Pre-approval is, hey, we've looked over all your information, we've verified it, we approve you for this much money. As long as everything stays the way it is from the day that we verified this, we will give you this much money for a new home. That is very powerful. Home sellers favor a pre-approved buyer's offer almost every time, because the home seller knows if you have a pre-approval, you're not only very serious about this home, you also have, you're going to be able to buy the home because you have this pre-approval offer, or letter, I should say, from a lender. So definitely big difference between pre-qualified and pre-approved. Now, let's just recap some of these steps. First, you're going to want to pull your credit report from annualcreditreport.com. Remember, that's annualcreditreport.com. Correct any mistakes that are on those credit reports, all 3 of them. Make sure you go through each one individually, because some may have a mistake, the next one won't. You want to make sure all 3 of them are correct. And again, if you have any outstanding balances or anything, you're going to want to go take care of those as well. Also, during this period, you're going to want to manage your credit card usage and balances. This is a time where you would like to have ideally your balances under 50%, ideally under 25%, and be using your card. Remember the number 2, as we just talked about when meeting the lender, when you bring all your documentation to the lender. And if you do all that, you want to get that pre-approval letter from the lender, and by all means, include the pre-approval letter with all your offers. Like I just said, home sellers will favor all offers that come with a pre-approval letter. So get the pre-approval and include it with all of your offers. So you go through the steps. Now what do you do? Well, first off, keep in mind, this is going to be the biggest, or at least one of the biggest financial transactions of your entire life. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here. And when you're talking that much money, working with the wrong people, or if you get bad advice and information, this can literally cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So think about this. You know you're interested in buying a new home. You've just learned in the last few minutes a few simple steps that will ensure a smooth buying experience. And you know that because of that, you know the value of an honest and accurate information from a qualified realtor like myself. So look, let me help you. There are a lot of steps, there's a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of real estate laws that need to be followed and paid attention to throughout the whole process. For instance, we talked about the financial prep, which leads to the lender and getting your pre-approval letter, which then leads to going out and searching for a home. You're going to need access to these homes. You're going to have to be able to get in and see the homes. Once you find your dream home, you're going to have to put together a fair offer and then negotiate to be able to get the price that you want. After they accept your offer, then it comes into inspections and insurance and all the steps that are needed to get set for settlement and closing. And finally, you gather up all the paperwork. Everyone sits down at a table and signs, and you settle or close the deal, and you are handed the keys to your brand new home. It's a lot of steps. There's a lot of stuff going on, but with the right real estate professional, most of these steps, all of that crazy background work is taken care of by that real estate professional, and all of those steps are in the background. Once you do your credit report stuff and get your documents ready to go to the lender and you get your pre-approval letter, that's for the most part outside of going and looking at homes, which is the fun part. Outside of that, you really don't have to worry about anything. A good real estate professional will then take you right through the process without you really having to worry about all of the things that are going on in the background. It really does leave all the fun, excitement of the whole home buying process your primary job. And that's what it's meant to be. This is a fun time. And quite frankly, I'd love to help you with it. So, you can call me, you can text me, email me. You have any questions or issues you're having at really any stage of the process. And hey, look, if you're ready to make a move right now to a new home, or even if you're ready to sell a home, I'd love to guide you through the exciting process. Just give me a call, text me, email me. Again, my name is Mike Mortensen. I work with Exit Realty Associates. My direct number, you can text or email or text or phone me at 703-888-9947. Again, text or call, and I will get right back to you. If you feel more comfortable emailing me, my email address is mikemortensenrealtor@gmail.com. And of course, there's my smiling mug on the screen right there. I really do look forward to working with you or speaking with you either way. I do wish you the best of luck on your search for your dream home. And I do look forward to speaking or working with you in the very near future. So until then, I hope you have a successful house hunt, and good luck with it. Thanks for watching.